Okay, I printed out another piece of Maureen's kit here, this one, and I thought it would be really fun to add an additional pocket to our little flip page here. So we have this one like this, and I thought it would be fun to kind of do a sort of diagonal thing. But because on this one, I did this fun little torn pocket, I think I'm going to do the same on this one. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let me see the best way to do this. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to first cut it down to match this size. So just so I have sort of some place to start. And then I'll do the tears from there. So I want this to be, doesn't have to be perfect, but I want it to be close. So that it will fit kind of on top of that. And so I'm just going to, once again, I'm going to try not to cut away too much of the paper in case I want to use it for something else. So I'm just going to approximate my cuts here and try to just cut enough off, leaving the rest straight in case I need, you know, longer pieces for something else. Okay. So this piece is going to go on top. And because it's the same size now, and we're going to have this, you know, be on top here, I thought it would be fun to do a tear that comes diagonally down. So since these are the same size, I can very easily just, let's see if I can do this. I'm going to tear so that it's pretty close. Like that. And I like the way the two papers now are contrasting off of each other. Let me just move this out of the way a little bit. So I think I'm going to start constructing this together so that we can start putting it together. So what I'm going to do is I am going to do a little distress around all the pieces that we have loose here. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sew. So I'm going to, while this piece is detached, my little pocket, I'm going to sew across the top here. I'm going to sew around this circle just so it keeps everything together. This one I am not going to sew while it's detached. So when I put this together, I'm probably going to sew around these four corners. But then when I'm going to put this on here, and then when this is sewn together or the top is sewn, then I will be able to sew around just this four spot here to keep everything together. So that's what I'm going to do. Distress and sew and glue and sew, and I'll be right back. And I'll do this on fast speed so you can kind of see what I'm doing. But we're just going to be basically putting everything together now. Okay, now I have my flap nice and sewn, and I have a little, well, of course I don't have anything right here, but let's grab this. I have a little pocket right here, and then I have my other pocket right here. So this one has the book page behind it, and this one is my nice torn pocket. So now, normally what I would do is I would, but before I fasten this piece down, I would put my flap underneath here. But because I don't have anything on this side yet, I think I'm going to put this all the way underneath, because I think that will give me a little more stability for this piece. So I think that's what I'm going to do. And before I do that, because this piece is so bulky here, I'm just going to create some tabs. This is definitely not necessary. I just want to take some of the bulk out of this time card piece here. And actually I may just cut off a little more down here as well, so that I have a nice tab. Now I do plan to try and sew all the way around this as well, so that it will definitely be down there nice and secure. So that is the plan. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put this piece down, and I'm going to put this piece down, I think with, I think I'm going to use my Fabri-Tac for this. I probably could use either one. Whichever one you're most comfortable with here. I'm just going to, like I said, because I'm going to be sewing, I'm not going to be super concerned about getting to the edges or, covering completely. But I do want this to stay in place until I get to the point where I am ready to sew it down. So, and you can see I kind of even didn't go all the way up to the edges there, because I don't want my sewing machine to have to go through glue. Now, by the time I sew this, I'm sure it will be dry, and I am pretty hard on my sewing machine, so I'm not concerned about it. But if you are concerned about your sewing machine, you may want to, just put something right in the middle there to, hold it in place until you're ready to sew. Okay, and now we're going to put the flap on as well. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this side of the flap, and I'm definitely using my 3-in-1 glue here for this. And I'm just going to go up to my fold. And this one I do want pretty good coverage on, because I really don't want it to go anywhere. And then I want to be sure this is centered. So this 3-in-1 glue, you do have a little bit of wiggle room time. So I'm making sure it's centered on this side, and then also I'm pressing it down fully all over the place here until we get it nice and dry. And then this will be nice too, because then on our other side, all this will be covered when we put this side on. So now our flap is on, and you can see when I flip it down, my words are right side up here. And now we can put, oh, I forgot to sew this. So I'm going to sew this real quick, but then we're going to put this on. So I'm going to go sew this, and I'm also going to grab a little brad. So we could either do this with a brad or an eyelet. It doesn't matter. So I think I'm going to go, I'm probably going to do a small brad here. So let me go sew that, and I'll be right back. Okay, I found this little light brown or maybe even a mustard colored brad there, but I thought it sort of matched the look, the natural feel of all these papers. So the next thing I'm going to do is punch a hole. You could use a crocodile here or a hole punch or whatever you want. I have this really cool punch that I like to use for little holes like this. And I'm just going to put a hole right in the top. Once again, I'm not going to measure or something there. And this is a very small hole. It's like not even 2 millimeters there, but it's perfect for these small little brads that I can just put through and not worry about having to have, a hole that's too big for this. Okay, so before I do anything else here, we have to mark where we want this to go. So let me just take that out for a second here. And I want to be sure that I have this up high enough that it's easy to get the flap out and then back in underneath this, the circle as the tab that we're making it. So I think if I put it maybe about right here, because I don't want it, you know, to be so loose that it ends up falling out, but I don't want it to be too far down that you have to, you know, bend this flap too much to get it back on there. And I think this is just about perfect. So I'm going to take my pencil and mark right where that hole needs to be. And hopefully, I don't know if I'll be able to do it with this. No, I don't think I will. This one doesn't go in far enough. So now I have to use something else. But what I'm going to use for this one, I'm going to use my paper piercer. So I, once again, don't want a real big hole here. And I'm just making sure I'm not punching through something I don't want to, but we don't have anything on that side, so I should be good to go. And since we're not making this a pocket or anything, I'm not worried about, you know, closing this off, you know, there. So this side I want to keep open because we are going to have this be a pocket. Okay, so we have our hole here. And then you'll see that this, when we cover up the other side, the back end of this brad will be all hidden and we won't have to worry about it coming out. So I'm just going to put this down this way so that I can open these up nicely. And there we go. Now, and that's the other thing, since there's only one brad in here, you could just turn it to the side and open that up as a tab. So we have a couple options there. All right. So now that's in place and I am loving that. And now we can go back and put this side on. So this is where we were going to add our book page on this side and our pocket, our little half pocket on this side. So I am going to add a little notch to this one. And this one I am going to mark because I don't trust myself. Okay. So this one will go just like that. And now, as I said, I think I'm going to be able to sew around the whole thing. Now, to sew around the whole thing, it is going to be just a little tricky because what I'm going to have to do is when I'm sewing, I have to be sure my flap is out so I don't sew this, you know, something together with that. So I can sew just around these four sides. Whoops. To get everything put together. And once again, before I do that, I am just going to tack these down. I am going to sew across this before I tack it down because I like the sewn, the top of the pocket sewn. But for this one, I'm just going to go ahead and put some glue just right in the middle. And we will put that where we want it to go. And I did forget to do a little distress on this, but that's okay. I'll do it right now. And my ink hasn't been coming out that great. So I'm just kind of using the side of this to give myself a little bit of that distress because the applicator doesn't seem to want to work too well for me for some reason. And now I don't need to do anything down on that side because I think this is probably dry. That's probably what the problem is there. Okay. So this is going to go like this, but I'm not going to tack that down until I sew across the top there. And then I'm going to sew around the four sides. Okay, it's all sewn together. And I love the way it's coming together. This is a little pocket here. And then we have our flip over here. So now this is the last piece we have to do. And I thought I was going to cover it with the same piece as here. Let's see, I don't even think, no, I can't get it to match, but that's okay. I decided I'm going to do something a little different because I think I want to, because of the way this is going to show the purple paper here, I thought it would be fun to cover this side with the purple paper here, and then make just a little, I don't know, note card kind of thing on the other side for journaling and things like that. So that's my plan. So I'm going to line this up one more time. We're going to be cutting some more pieces. I'm going to try and keep it straight here. And this side on the other side is a pocket. So we need to be sure. Now let's see, I don't know the best way to do this, since I think I'm gonna, I kept that little piece in case I needed it, but I don't think I'm gonna need it. So I'm gonna cut that little piece off here. All right, that way I can see what marks I need to make a little bit better. So this is gonna go this way. And then I need to cut it about here. Okay. Because then I'll have two pieces that kind of match fully inside here. So I'm going to have this one be here, just like that. And then I'm going to make this a little journaling card, and I'm going to give it like a little margin inside of here. So I think it'll need to be about here and about there. So let's see how that looks. And I may even round the corners of this inside piece. So yes, it's nice and framed there. I'm going to add some rounded corners just to kind of make it look a little smooth around there. And I like the way that looks. Okay, now I could sew around this one too, but because I have something on here and I sewed around it, I want to be careful that I don't sew all this together, because then I'll have like double stitching over here and it'll start to get thick and be a hot mess probably. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew this middle piece onto here, and then I'll sew around the outside while it's detached, and then I'll just be able to attach the whole thing there. Once again, we'll add a little distress and do a little sewing and get that put together. All sewed up together. Now I'm going to put this on. Now I just want to mention, if you're following along, because we want this side to be a pocket, I have to be careful that I don't glue down this flap here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue just on here, and then I'll just, on the back side of this, I'll just glue up the very one side, so it'll be held together there, and then the rest will be held together over here. So I'm going to just put this like this so I don't lose my spot from where I want to go. I'm going to add my glue to this inside part of the envelope. so that I don't glue my pocket together. And you could add another piece of paper here if you wanted to. You know, you could add something so that it would, you know, make sure that it was keeping it together. But I'm not going to do that. I don't want to add any more thickness. So I'm just going to add my glue down the one side right here, so that when I put this down, my pocket won't be glued together. But my paper will be nice and secure on top there. Okay, so now just to check that, see if I can find something. Here we go. Actually, I don't know if this is, it might work. I'm just going to make sure my pocket is still nice and open here, so when we put together our tag, it'll go in there nice. Perfect. Okay, so I think this piece is all done. Okay, we have our first piece ready to go, but it's not put in yet, and we're going to leave that out for just a little bit while we continue doing some other things here. But I wanted to mention that I forgot to cover the back edge of these tabs. So I want to do that real quick. And all I'm going to do, because I didn't cover these before I did the punching with my tab board, I'm just going to add them. I'm just going to glue them down right on top of here, and then I'm going to, actually I'm probably going to trace them first, because I think that would be easier than trying to cut them while they're in there. So what I'm going to do, excuse me, is I'm going to put this where I want it on here, and I'm going to try to use, you know, use this up smartly here, oops, by lining up the edge of this and the top of this tab, and then just drawing my edge here. And then I'm going to do the same thing for this one, because I know I didn't measure them, so they are going to be a little bit different in size. And it looks like I might not be able to fit this in. It looks like this maybe will only go, this piece of paper is only long enough to do one. So I'm going to grab another piece of paper. And I wonder if this will be thick enough. Nope. So I might just have to, I was going to say, I should have a bunch of scraps over here that I've been saving. This one, I think these are the same length. So I don't think that's going to work, because for some reason, let me just check that again and see if it's really going to overlap. Yeah, it does. So the length of these is not going to work for one piece. So I'll do this for one, and then I will cut this one down for my other one. So I'm just going to do the same thing, put it on here, trace it out, and then I'm going to glue them down. Okay, now that we have the backs of our tabs covered, since I forgot to do that, I went ahead, we're going to start working on this side now. So we've finished here with this. We're not going to put it in yet, just quite yet though. And then we're going to start working on this. So what I did was I cut another piece of paper down to fit this side. So, you know, I rounded the corner down here at the bottom and it's all ready to go. And what I was thinking I would do with this one is I would make 2 little pockets to go down at the bottom. So I was thinking they might be fun to have some book page pockets. So if I grab some of this book page that we were using before, I am going to, this is pretty brittle fabric, I get, or fabric, pretty brittle book page. So I want to be sure that I am sort of stiffening it up or bracing it with some other paper. So I can just grab some scrap paper here that I have, or you know what, I could probably use, if you've been watching my other YouTube videos, you know I've been trying to use up my my time cards. So this might be a perfect little backer for my pockets. And I actually even think I like the size of these just being that wide. And then I just need to decide on how, you know, how long I want them here. So maybe like, I'm just gonna eyeball that, and then what I'll do is I'll fold this in half so that I can make one cut, and hopefully these 2 pieces will be the same size. So I'm going to look for my mark here. And then these should fit right here and here. Okay, so we're going to cover these with book page, and I'm just going to probably, you know, glue this down one way or another, just to try and make sure there's as many, you know, words on here as possible. So I might not need both of these pages. I might only need one, but I'm just going to glue these down and then cut them out. Okay, I went ahead and sewed around the pockets onto the piece of paper that I cut to fit on this side. So now this piece is all ready to go as well. So I'm going to put that aside with our other piece. Oh, it's in here that I'm keep putting in there. Okay. And then we're going to start working on this side. So I thought we'd do just like a little accordion pocket over on this side. I thought that would be kind of fun. And because I've only printed this on, I mean, it's presentation paper, so it's a little thicker than copy paper, but it's not cardstock. I'm going to adhere this to some cardstock to give it some more body before I make the envelope. So I'm going to need about, I mean, I'm definitely going to need 8 inches, you know, tall here. And this is just a piece of cardstock that I grabbed from something else. And you can see I have little disc marks in here. So I'm only going to, you know, take about a 1/2 inch off. I'm going to probably use the rest of this. So let me just kind of show you what I'm thinking here. So I'm going to put these together. And actually, I think I want to keep this side and take this side off. And I'm just going to take off enough. And this isn't going to be exact either. I'm just going to kind of fold the paper into my envelope. Okay, so now we have something that matches a little better. And then, like I said, I'm gonna sew these together so that they stick together for me. And actually, before I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and cut it down so that I have it at the right width, so I don't have to worry about that. So I'm just going to mark this. And then we're going to cut off that little piece as well. Before we make it here. Okay. So now we have our height and our width ready to go. And like I said, this piece is probably now about 10.5 inches long because I took off that half of an inch there. So before I sew it, I am just going to put a little glue to make it stick together so it doesn't move while I'm sewing it. But I'm going to keep my glue kind of to the inside here. And then, of course, I'm never going to get it right on the first try. Why would I do that? Okay. I think I got it now. It's close. It's close. Okay. So now I'm just going to do a zigzag stitch all the way around the outside so that those two pieces will stay together for me. And now it's nice and sturdy because I have the cardstock under there. I've got my sewing on. And now I'm just going to make a couple of marks, a couple of score marks. So I want this to be, let's see, how do I want to do this? I know, I know the bottom part, I can't have it be more than, as you know, as wide as this is, which this is about 4 1/4 inches wide. So that being said, I think I want my, let me try and get that out of the way. I think I want to try to have my, this is going to be my flap. So I'm going to fold this end in and this end in. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to mark my first mark at 3 1/2 inches. And then, so that's going to be sort of the base that folds up. And I'm going to try to mark that pretty well since I'm marking through paper and then also through cardstock. And then I'm going to do my next one because this will be my base piece. And we know that that can't be longer than 4 1/4. So instead of going up 4 1/4, I'm going to go up 4 1/4 and come back 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 1/4 inches and then come back 1/8 of an inch there and mark it there. Just because I don't want to, you know, if my measurements were off a little bit, I don't want to go over the edge of my card there. Okay, so now just going to gently fold these over. And that looks really good. So let me just make sure we have our size correct. And we're going to cover underneath this, so we don't need to worry about like the brown sticking out there. But that fits just perfectly on there. Okay, so now we just need to make our little gussets, our little accordion folds. Okay, I got some scrap cardstock here, and this matches the purple on here, I think. And it's not going to show too much, so it doesn't matter too much. But I did want something a little stiffer than my paper. So what we're going to do is we need, for each side, we need 2 inches, and then the height of this this fold here. So this was 3.5 inches. So first I'm going to make that cut, my 3.5 inches. And then I need 2 2-inch pieces for my accordion folds. Okay, and then for each of those pieces, I just want to score them every 1/2 inch. So I'm going to put this down, and we're going to score at 1/2 inch, 1 inch, and 1.5 inches. So we'll have 3 scores on there, on each one. And then just fold it like an accordion. So 1 front, 1 back, 1 front. Okay, so you should have a little M there. Okay. Then what I like to do to really be sure, since we cut these the same height, we want to be sure that they don't, oops, and I think I may have cut them too long. Well, maybe a little bit. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut these down just a little, because it looks like I did cut them, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch too big there. But then also, after I do that, so I'm just going to make sure, yeah, for some reason these are both, I wonder if I did that fold wrong. Okay, then the next thing we're going to do, so you're going to take your M, and your M is going to be towards the outside. So the 2 tops of the M, we're going to put towards the outside of our envelope here, our little pocket here. Okay, so before I glue them down though, I am going to just taper off a little bit on each side to really be sure they don't show. So I'm going to do that on this one too. Oops. And then I'm just going to use my beacon glue. And I'm going to glue one side down. I'm going to do this together so I can fold it over together. I'm going to fold this, put this one down first. I'm going to line one of those, the tops of my M's, right at the side edge there. Whoops, and don't move it around like I did. Okay. And you can see I am about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch off of that fold. So that's probably going to help us out. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. And it just really wants to move around on me. Okay. We'll give those a second to dry a little bit, but then what we're going to do is we're just going to glue down this edge. Ooh. And then fold them over. So we'll glue this part down, and then we'll glue this flap. And then I'm going to squeeze them in just a little. And then we'll want to just hang on to that, just hold that. and make sure that it glues down. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to put something on there. It's not heavy enough, I don't think. I think it might be staying. So I'm just going to hang on to this, I think, until it is done drying.